Hi there, my name is Derek and this is Elven Tower Adventures. Today I will be doing some GM prep adventure brainstorming with a map I illustrated last month. I already wrote an adventure for this map, but here I'm going to be very freely talking about this place as if I had not written an adventure for it, maybe as if I were writing a new adventure for this map. Okay, so here it is. This map is actually originally vertically oriented, but I have rotated it for the purpose of this video because it looks better here on screen. Okay, so here is all the map. This would be like the end goal of this adventure, or maybe this library down here. The entrance is right here. It's this magical circle. The characters would need to have access to teleportation magic, or maybe there's just another teleportation circle elsewhere. You just have to step on it and you get here. So that's a teleport circle. So once they get here, they are surrounded by this black goo around the circle, and they can see that the goo comes from beyond this door. It flows to the right as the map is oriented right now. This is an oil-like, petrol-like substance. It's meant to be a challenge in the dungeons. It's not something where you would be free to swim into or be submerged. So it's probably just cursed or poisonous or it burns your skin. The characters get here and the first thing they see is that they are flanked by these statues. There's 4 of them and 2 more on the other side. I believe in the original adventure, these statues were gargoyles. Depending on how encounter heavy you would like your adventure, maybe the very first room when you get there is not the best place for an encounter, or maybe it is. You know, like you just step on the teleportation circle, get here, and in a matter of seconds you are under attack, and there's also this canal with poisonous muck, and the gargoyles or animated armors, or maybe they are wights, they also try to push you into the canals. So it has the potential to be a very deadly encounter. Maybe you can bypass it. After this room, once they deal with the monsters, if there are any, the characters can move, and here they find these 3 flights of ascending stairs. Each one of them is 5 foot tall, and they see the oil-like substance flowing downward. But there's also a secret room here. So they could find this secret passage that leads to these stairs. And now, if they come here before going up the stairs down here, they'll find some important information. What it is, we're gonna find out, but first I'm going to describe what's up here. There are 4 alcoves here on the ascending staircase. Each of the alcoves contains an undead guardian. Now, if you skipped the encounter in the teleportation circle room, then this would be your first encounter. Depending on the level of the adventure, if it's low level, maybe it's just 4 skeletons, or very high level, maybe 4 wraiths. For now, I'm just going to write 4 ghouls. So we have a ghoul in each of these sarcophagi. Now there's also another option for the characters after they leave the first room. They could go here and then go down here, where they will find 2 things. First, there are these cells filled with mounds of bones. These bones have been here for decades. There's nothing of value, but it reveals that this place used to be a form of prison, or at least it had this brick-like chambers. Now, if they go down here, there's something clever we have to describe. There are bones right here. Someone died right there, and that's where the bones have stood for ages. Now, what happened here? This is actually a pressure plate. When you stand on it, this activates the automated crossbow at the end of the hallway. So this is what happened. Someone came here, stood on the plate, he was shot by the automated crossbow, and he died on the spot. So that's why there are bones there. Now, on the other side of the hallway, there is this chest. However, this chest is empty. There's nothing here. This is just a decoy to catch your attention when you come here and you see the chest and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get some treasure, but then you are standing on the pressure plate and you get shot. Well, this section of the dungeon is just to disincentivize trespassers. Now, if we go up to the secret chamber that the characters could find, here there's something cool. They can go right to this workshop. Now, this workshop is meant to have information about how the oil canals work. There's nothing they can do here except gain information, because this information is useful in the next room. So it pays off if they come here and read the documentation first. As usual, you have to read the manual first, but if you come here you will find the machinery that controls the oil canals. Machinery. So a wizard or a rogue or whoever feels themselves up to the task can come here and try to operate the machinery, and what they can achieve by doing this is to close off the flow of the oil canals. Since this flows very slowly, the change is not going to happen very fast, but over the course of 10 minutes or maybe 20 minutes, all the canals will be empty. But that's only if they do it right, because this is meant to be a high DC challenge. So maybe this is like a DC 18 dexterity check, or maybe Thieves' Tools check. If they pass it, well, they staunch the flow of the oil canals. If they fail, they actually overflow for 10 minutes and it becomes more dangerous for a while. They have advantage on this check if they read the documentation found in the workshop. By the way, if you like this content, this is a very small channel. We are not yet monetized, nor do we have sponsors. But if you hit the like button or leave a comment or maybe even subscribe, you help us a lot. And if you really like this content, let me take this moment to roll a persuasion check against you to convince you to check out our Patreon page. We've been on Patreon for years, but we're only now starting with YouTube. We illustrate maps for TTRPG games, we write adventures, we write modules, we do all kinds of stuff, and it all gets compiled in Dungeon Magazine, which goes out monthly and has done so for years. So if you don't know about our magazine, you're kinda missing out. Alright, on to the main chamber. After climbing these steps, they come to this large chamber. At the end of this chamber, there's this mysterious effigy that looks like a demon. It's gold-plated, it has horns, and the facial structure or the skull structure of a type of horse or goat. It's meant to be mysterious and just strange. And the oil appears to come from beneath it. It's standing on a dais, and the oil canals come from under it. So it appears to be the source, but the source is actually this pool in the back chamber. Apart from that effigy, there's also one in the upper and lower alcoves. Something also of notice is that here and here, and then on the upper side, there are sarcophagi, and the same on the other side. Now, since this is a vault, it makes sense for it to be guarded by either animated constructs or undead. There's 4 enclosures, so we could have 4 ghouls or wraiths. If you go for incorporeal undead, then you could have as many as you want, like 12 shadows or something. But here, you are supposed to have the big fight, whatever it is. If not undead, you could have the 3 statues become animated armors, or maybe even stone golems, or higher levels, maybe even iron golems. After whatever happens in this room, probably the big fight, if the characters are observant enough, they might find a secret room down here in the southeast alcove. It leads to the treasure vault. Now, depending on how you run perception checks or finding secret rooms in your game, they might actually miss this vault, but the big money is meant to be in this chamber. Hopefully they don't miss it. Now, the back room. This magical font is the source of the noxious oil substance. Here, if the characters didn't operate the machinery here, they could actually use adamantine weapons to hack it down and destroy it, or they could just ignore it. There's nothing else that can harm them in this room, but it can be destroyed. There is an option to bypass the whole big room if the characters move through this northern hallway. From the machinery room, they could go west. Now here, while it appears to be kinda empty, there's a lot of stuff here. First, there is this tripwire here. It's barely visible, and if the characters do not see it, they trip it, and then after a few seconds, there are these 2 sections that are a barrage of poison darts. This is meant to be a delayed trap. So if someone steps on the tripwire, the darts do not fly out that exact moment. It waits a few seconds. So a person is meant to be walking here, they step on the wire, and while they keep walking, after a few seconds, they are probably here or here, and they get attacked by the poison darts. This is meant to be deadly. And then when they get to the other side of the room, there's this section with swinging axe traps. Now these things are always swinging. They are powered by magic. It's meant to be one of those challenges where they have to do like probably something like a DC 14 acrobatics checks or something. Or if there's a rogue in the team, they might find a control panel around here. They could operate it to disarm the swinging traps. Otherwise, they carry on and find the back room. If they come here, they could skip all this. However, they would also be skipping the treasure vault down here. However, they wouldn't know there's a treasure vault. Or would they? This is where information might become important in a dungeon. The characters have already visited the workshop. There's a possibility that the characters could find here a map of the dungeon. If not there, they could also find it here in the last room, a map. So even if they skipped the big room, if they have access to a map that says that there is a treasure vault right here, they might just say, you know what, okay, we skipped it, but we want the treasure, so let's go get it. However, information is information. It's also valid to say, you know what, let's forgo the treasure. We came to get what we came for, which is right here. And they could just choose to not have that big fight. Now, this depends on the type of game you're running. If you're running an OSR style game, this information could be crucial. The characters could have already spent some resources. In OSR games, it's not a hack and slash adventure. Usually when you have information enough to avoid an encounter, it's actually a smart thing to do it. So maybe if you're playing something like Old School Essentials or Shadow Dark, it might pay off to skip the big room through this trapped hallway, get your treasure down here, and then just avoid the big fight and the treasure vault. However, if you're playing a game that's more combat friendly, like D&D 5e, Pathfinder 2e, or maybe even Daggerheart, they're probably gonna go anyway, get the big fight and get the treasure vault. Now, the last room. This room, as illustrated here, is a form of study or library. In the original adventure, this was actually an arcane library. The characters came here to get access to a magical spell or arcane knowledge. And I guess that's what makes more sense here. So the characters would be taking the teleportation magic to come here and find something of a value that's not material, more like access to a spell or maybe a tome that explains the weakness of something they're trying to fight, not in this dungeon, so it would be tied to the overarching campaign. However, since this is an arcane study, you can also have some other treasure like magic scrolls or spell books, or maybe even a magic item. So seeing the map like this, it looks like a little mess with all my annotations and all the texts and the arrows and everything. But when I prep an adventure for D&D, I often do this. It helps me decide what to have in different rooms and areas and everything. It looks like a little mess, but the process of annotating the map helps me do the GM prep for the session. The original name of this map is Hall of the Gilded Devils, and it's because of these statues in the big room. Well, I think that's it for this one. Thank you for coming and helping me do my GM prep for this session. Thank you for watching. My name is Derek, and this is Elven Tower Adventures.